My name is Helen Mosley. I'm 36, and the call came at 2:47 in the morning on a Wednesday in early September. My mother's night nurse was on the line. She said, "She's asking for you. Your brother told us you'd moved to Oregon." I had been sitting in my mother's hospice room 12 hours earlier. I had not been to Oregon in my life. What I found on the bedside table 40 minutes later is the reason I'm telling you this story at all. I won't describe it yet. I want you to see it the way I saw it, in the order I saw it, because the order is the part that matters. Before I take you back, do me a favor. Hit subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is for you. I read everyone. Now let me take you back to the night my brother flew in and the 3 weeks that turned my mother's last room into something I almost lost. The drive from my apartment to the hospice was 22 minutes if the lights cooperated and 26 if they didn't. I had measured it. I'd measured a lot of things by then. The 3rd floor of the hospice smelled like warm laundry and lemon pledge, a smell that used to be my grade school office. There was a juice machine at the end of the hall that took 2 clicks to dispense, and the second click always sounded like a tiny, offended cough. I bought 2 cups every night. One for me, one for the trash. The second one was a habit I never explained to myself. My mother was Patricia Mosley. She had taught 3rd grade for 31 years. Her hands still knew how to hold a pencil even when her shoulders did not, and she still corrected the way I crossed my T's. Pancreatic cancer is the kind that arrives late and leaves early. By the time we knew, the prognosis was 6 to 8 weeks. She made it to the hospice on a Tuesday. I came in on Tuesday night. I had come in every night since. The leather of my driver's seat was hot in August and cold in September, and I'd come to know the small click of the parking gate the way some people know the bark of their dog. The night staff knew my car. The cleaning lady knew my car. I'd parked in the same row, 3rd spot from the lamp, 46 times in 48 days. And then, 3 Tuesdays before, my brother flew in. He told me he was here for as long as it took. I thought, at the time, that was a tender thing to say. Most things sound tender when you want them to. Leland was 38. He lived out west. He worked in finance. Or he had until recently. The details were always a little vague when he told them. I had not learned to listen for the vagueness yet. He took the day shift more or less. I took the night. We didn't overlap much. That was, I would learn later, the entire point. Brenda Hutchins worked the 11 to 7 shift at the 3rd floor nurse station. She had been there 9 years. She kept 2 pens at her desk, a black gel for the chart, and a blue ballpoint for what she called everything else. She used the blue one for the visitor log. She filled in time of arrival, time of departure, and a brief note. She had filled in mine 47 times. The first night I came in after Leland's arrival, Brenda looked up from her log and smiled the kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes by accident. It was a polite smile, a nurse station smile. "You're 47 for 49, sweetheart," she said. "The cleaning lady asks about you." "I missed a Sunday and a Tuesday," I said. "Tax deadline." Mom understood. Brenda made a small mark in the log. "She's awake. He's in there with her." I went down the hall. The room was 312. The door was open the way it always was, by hospice rule. And the lamp on the far wall was on the lowest setting, the one that turned everything in the room a soft caramel. Leland was in the visitor's chair. He was wearing a buttoned collared shirt. He smelled like sandalwood. A man wearing cologne in a hospice room is a man who hasn't sat in one long enough. He was closing his laptop. He closed it in one motion when I came in, the way you close a book you don't want someone to see the cover of. He stood up. He hugged me. He said, "Hell. Lee, I've been doing the paperwork. Don't worry about any of that." "What paperwork?" "Insurance, hospice forms, the boring stuff. You've got too much on your plate." I didn't have anything on my plate. My plate had been, for 49 days, this room. but I didn't say that. I rubbed Mom's wrist. Her hand was cool. Her eyes opened. "There you are," she said. "There I am." She closed her eyes again. Leland watched me watch her. Then he watched the door. He'd been watching the door before I came in, too. The lamp clicked once on the dimmer setting. "Stay as long as you want," he said. "I'll go grab dinner." He didn't grab dinner. He went down to the parking lot and took his laptop with him. The bedside drawer in room 312 had a hospital-issue laminate top and a pull that stuck on the second inch of travel. I knew this because I'd opened it every night to put the day's mail and the nightly cup of warm broth that Mom never drank. On the third Wednesday after Leland flew in, I opened the drawer and found something I hadn't put there. It was a day planner, spiral-bound, the kind teachers used to buy at the supply store. The cover was a faded blue with the year stamped in gold foil. Mom's name was written inside the front cover in her schoolteacher's slant. Patricia A. Mosley. The letters tilted right, the way she'd taught third graders to tilt their cursive in 1988. I sat down. I opened the planner. She had been writing in it. Recently. Not every day, but most. A short note in her shaky hand for each entry. The morphine had not taken her writing yet, only slowed it. I flipped to the previous Tuesday. Helen brought soup. Stayed till 9. Wednesday. Helen brought magazines, the crossword one. Thursday. Helen stayed late. We watched the rain. Friday. Leland called. Did not visit. Saturday. Helen. Soup. Sunday. Helen. Leland. Argued in the hall about something. Helen left at 10. I closed it. I put it back in the drawer. I sat with my hand on the drawer for a minute. I thought, at the time, it was sweet. I thought she was keeping a small record of her last days the way she'd kept attendance for 31 years. I thought, my mother is the kind of woman who makes a list of who came. That's all. I did not think she was making a list of who came for a reason. That was my error. I will not pretend it wasn't. When Leland came back from the parking lot, he was on his phone. He saw me, hung up, smiled the small prepared smile. He said, "I might extend my stay another week. There's a lot to handle." Handle what? Just paperwork, the estate stuff, pre-stuff. You don't need to deal with any of it. I said, "Okay." I said it the way you say okay when you don't want to keep talking. He didn't notice the difference. He had stopped noticing differences in my voice the year before our father died, and he'd never started again. The CNA's name was Tasha. She was new on the floor. She was kind in the way new staff are kind, which is to say, carefully and with lots of eye contact. On the Saturday of the third week, I came in early, around 10 p.m., and she was at the linen cart outside 312. She brightened when she saw me. "Oh," she said. "Mrs. Mosley's sister from Oregon. He said you were flying in tonight. We weren't expecting you so soon." I did not move for a second. I did the polite half-smile I have used my whole working life when a client says something that is mathematically incorrect. "I live 20 minutes away," I said. "I've been here every night since intake." Tasha's smile faltered. She looked at the chart in her hand. She looked at me. Oh, I'm so sorry. Mr. Mosley said you'd relocated for work in August. He's been telling us. He said you weren't able to come." "I'm so sorry. Should I?" "No," I said. "It's not your fault. Could you tell me where Brenda is?" Brenda was at the nurse station. She had a fresh cup of coffee and the visitor log open in front of her. I didn't say anything. She looked up. She read whatever was on my face. She turned the log around so I could see it. 47 nights. Then she pulled out a second binder, what she called the floor's communication log, and turned to the entries from August 14th on. Leland had told the day staff I had moved. He had told the social worker. He had told the chaplain. He had told 3 CNAs. He had been telling everyone for 3 weeks. I sat down in the rolling chair next to her station. I did not cry. I was a senior accountant at a regional firm. I did not cry at the desk. I had not cried at a desk since I was 23. Brenda said very quietly, "If you ever need this log, sweetheart, the chart is the chart." I nodded. I drove home at 5:50 that morning. I didn't sleep. I drank 2 cups of coffee. I called my cousin Carol at 7 a.m. on the dot. She picked up on the first ring. I think she had been expecting a call from somebody for a long time. I just hadn't known I was the somebody. The call came on a Wednesday. I had taken a Tuesday night off, the first one in 2 weeks, because Carol had told me to sleep, and I had lied to myself about being able to. I had set my phone on the pillow next to my head, on Do Not Disturb except for 2 numbers. Mom's hospice line was one of them. It rang at 2:47 a.m. The screen lit up white. I picked up before the second ring. "Helen, it's Brenda." "Yes." "Your mother's asking for you by name. Your brother left at midnight. He told the front desk you wouldn't be coming." "I'm coming." I figured. I pulled on jeans. I did not brush my hair. The streetlights on Highway 14 were yellow at that hour, blinking in long, slow sequences for nobody. I made 28 minutes in 24. I parked third from the lamp. The parking gate clicked. Room 312 was lit only by the bathroom light. The door was open 4 inches. I pushed it. My mother was lying on her right side, the way she liked. Her lips were moving. She was saying my name in the slow loop people use in fever. Helen, 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 like a metronome forgetting the rest of the song. "I'm here," I said. "I'm here, Mom." Her eyes fluttered. They closed. I sat in the visitor's chair. The chair had a dent in the cushion where Leland had sat. I noticed that the dent was on the right side, the side closest to the bedside table. I noticed that the bedside table had something on it I had not seen there before. A yellow legal pad. Top page filled with handwriting. A single strip of fluorescent light fell across it from the hallway like someone had laid down a yellow ruler. I leaned forward. I read the first line. I read the second line. My hands went very evenly, from warm to cold. I didn't read the rest. I took out my phone. The first photograph I took was at 3:12 a.m. The room was so quiet I could hear the camera click in my own throat. I shifted my chair to get a clean angle on each page and took 4 more. Then I put my phone in my pocket, and I sat with my mother's hand in mine, and I waited for the sun to come up. I didn't read the document twice. I read it once. Once was all I needed. I read it cover to cover at 6 a.m. in the third-floor lounge with a paper cup of vending machine tea I did not drink. 4 pages of yellow legal pad, written in a single unbroken sitting by the look of the slope. The opening line: "I, Patricia Ann Mosley, of sound mind, leave the entirety of my estate, real and personal, to my son, Leland James Mosley." The body was 4 pages long. It listed the house, the small brokerage account, the savings, the contents of the safe deposit box at the credit union. It mentioned no other heir. It mentioned no daughter. It mentioned no Helen. The signature on the last page was my mother's. Shaky, lopsided. The kind of signature a person makes when their hand has stopped fully cooperating with their will. I knew that shake. I had watched her sign her life insurance update 3 weeks earlier, when the case manager came to do the renewal. The shake was real. The signature was hers. The body of the will was not. My brother had a tell. He had had it since high school. His lowercase y was too long. He pulled the tail of it down past the next line, like he was trying to reach the floor. My mother's y was a short cursive curl that closed back on itself. Her Y had been the same since 1988. I knew this because I had a refrigerator full of her grocery lists in my apartment. I had saved them since I moved out at 22. The Ys gave him away. There were 47 of them across the 4 pages. Every single one was Leland's. I sat in the lounge for a long time. The tea got cold. The morphine pump down the hall clicked every 6 minutes. I started counting them between paragraphs as I copied the will, line by line, into the Notes app on my phone. Backup. Always backup. I am an accountant. I have been a backup person my whole life. When I finished, I went back to room 312. Mom was lightly asleep. Her hand was on top of the sheet. I held it. She murmured something. 3 syllables. Faint. That might have been "thank you, sweetheart." I'll never know who she meant. I'd like to think it was me. I'd like to think it didn't matter who. I didn't ask. You don't ask a sleeping woman to verify her affection. I waited for Leland. He came back at 6:40. He had a paper cup from the chain coffee place at the highway exit, the one with the green logo. He was wearing a quarter zip. He looked rested. He had slept. I had not slept in 28 hours. I met him in the parking lot. I did not go up to the room. "Hell," he said. "What are you doing out here?" "I have the photographs," I said. He stopped. His face did the thing faces do when they're calculating a new plan very fast. It went still for about a second and a half. I watched it the way you watch a slow shutter. Then he resettled. "Hell, listen. Mom's been confused. For weeks. She wanted things settled. She asked me to help her write it down. In your handwriting." I was holding the pen for her. She told me what to write. All 4 pages. She would tire. And the whys. He blinked. He hadn't planned for the whys. He looked briefly at his own hand holding the coffee cup. He put the coffee cup on the hood of his rental sedan. His breath made a small cloud near the dumpster, and the cloud was thinner than mine. "Hell," he said. He started over. "I know how this looks, but I'm broke. Madison took everything. There's a thing at work. I just need a little time. Mom would want..." "Mom keeps a planner, Lee." "What?" "She has been writing in it the entire time. She knows who came. She knows who didn't. She knows you didn't visit on Friday. She knows we argued in the hall on Sunday. She knows what she signed and what she hasn't. She knows." He didn't answer. The coffee cup tipped on the hood and dripped onto the asphalt. Neither of us picked it up. "I'll be back at 7, I said. "For what?" "That isn't your question to ask anymore." I drove home. I did not cry on the drive. I waited until I got to my kitchen, and I cried for about 4 minutes, and then I called Carol. She had been waiting for me to call. She had been waiting since 7 a.m. the day before. Carol Whitlock was 41. She was a probate paralegal for a county 2 over. We had been close as kids and middle as adults, the way cousins are. She listened to me describe the legal pad without saying anything for the first 3 minutes. Then she said one word. "Holographic." "What?" "That's what it's called. A holographic will. Handwritten. Some states recognize them. Ours is one. But there's a trick to it, Hell." "Tell me the trick." "The whole document has to be in the testator's own handwriting, the body. Every line. Mom's. Not his. The signature alone isn't enough. If the body is in Leland's hand, the instrument is void on its face. Not contestable. Void." "Carol, I know. Is that real?" "It's real. I've seen 3 of them get tossed in the last 2 years. Probate courts hate this kind of thing. They love precision. The law on holograph instruments is one of the cleanest things on the books." "How do I prove it's his hand?" "A forensic document examiner. There's one good one in the region. Mara Vendrell. I'll text you her contact. And you need a probate attorney. Not me. I'm not licensed in your county. You need Jonas Wexler. He's old. He doesn't do drama. He files paperwork on time. The court does the rest." I wrote down both names on the yellow legal pad I keep in my kitchen. My own legal pad. Yellow because the office supply store sells them for $2 a pack. I wrote the date at the top, the way Mom used to. "Carol." "Yeah." "Is he going to go to jail?" She thought about it. She thought about it for longer than I wanted her to. Probably not. Probate is civil. Criminal forgery is a different track. DAs don't pick up holograph cases unless the dollar number is bigger. He'll just lose. In public. Quietly. The way these things go. That's enough. Is it? Yes. It has to be. I want the will void. I want her last weeks left alone. I'll let the rest of it go. Okay, Hel. Send me the contacts. She sent them. I emailed Jonas Wexler at 8:12 a.m. He emailed me back at 9:41 with one line. Bring your mother's prior writing samples. I would like to file an emergency motion if your timeline allows. The Saturday after I emailed Wexler, my mother had a rally. The hospice nurses had warned me about rallies. They are not improvements. They are the body's last clean breath before the final descent. She woke up at 3 p.m. the way a person wakes up from a real sleep. Slow, unhurried, present. She turned her head toward me. Her eyes were her eyes again. Helen. Mom? Sit closer. I moved the chair an inch. She put her hand on mine. Her hand was warm for the first time in a week. The light was coming in the west window at a steep angle, the kind of slanted late summer light that turns the inside of a room the color of a paper lantern. The light came in at 4:20, exactly 4 minutes of orange before the trees took it back. I had timed it. I had timed everything. He keeps asking me to sign things, she said. I went still. What things, Mom? Papers. Different papers. Different days. I don't read them anymore. I just sign them so he leaves me alone. She paused. She was breathing carefully. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I should have told you. I thought I could just outlast him. Mom, you don't apologize. He apologizes. He won't. I know. She closed her eyes for a second. She opened them. The drawer. There's a planner. I've been writing in it. Every day. Since the Tuesday after I got here. Take it home tonight. Keep it. It's yours. I opened the drawer. I put the planner on the bed. She rested her hand on it. I made a list, she said. I'm a teacher. We always make lists. I opened it to the last 2 weeks. Her writing was slower at the end, but legible. 14 of 14 nights, Helen. 4 entries for Leland. 3 of the 4 said the same thing. Asked about money. You knew. I knew, sweetheart. I just didn't have the breath to fight it. So I wrote it down. The way I made the 3rd graders write down the spelling words. If you write it down, it's true. If it's true, it stays true. Mom? Tell Mr. Wexler I said hello when you see him. I went to high school with his sister. She smiled. It was the small private smile she had used when a child got the answer right after struggling for a week. Then she fell asleep with the planner on her chest. I sat there until the orange light moved off the trees. If you've ever counted how many times you came when no one else was counting, tell me in the comments. Just the number. I'll read everyone. If you want to know how the last 3 weeks went, hit subscribe. There's a part I haven't told anyone yet. Now, back to my mother's room, and what I did with the planner. I scanned every page of the planner that night on my home all-in-one printer that I had not used since tax season. The printer made a sound like clearing its throat for 19 straight minutes, 18 months of entries, 342 days with notations. Mom had not written every single day, but most. The morphine had pulled her sentences shorter as the months went on. That made them sharper, not softer. Brought soup, stayed till 9. Helen called twice. Leland did not. I cross-referenced with Brenda's visitor log. I did the cross-reference the way I did a quarterly reconciliation at work. 2 columns, date, source. I matched 96%. The 4% gap was nights Brenda hadn't been on shift. Her replacements had less complete entries, but the planner filled in the gaps. 18 months of data, 2 independent sources. I emailed it to Jonas Wexler at 11:28 that night. Carol called me at midnight. She had been on the phone with Wexler before me. Hell, this isn't a record anymore. What is it? This is an exhibit. Don't email anything else. Why? Discovery. If you email things, the other side can subpoena your inbox. If you put it on paper and walk it in, you control the chain. Print 3 copies. Keep them in 3 different places. Don't email Wexler again until he tells you to. I printed 3 copies. I put one in my safe deposit box at the credit union the following morning, the moment they opened. I put one in the locked drawer of my desk at work. I put one in a manila folder under my mattress, which is exactly as ridiculous as it sounds, and exactly as effective. Wexler called me Monday morning. Helen. Yes. I have what you sent. I have what your cousin walked over yesterday. Paper is patient. Email is not. Don't email me anything else. Understood. I'd like to file the petition Wednesday. I'd like an emergency hearing inside 3 weeks. Your mother's prognosis cooperates with that. I'm sorry to put it that way. Don't apologize, she wouldn't. I went to high school with her sister-in-law, you know. She told me to say hello. He paused. He said, "That's a person, Helen. That was a person." He hung up. Dale Thornton was the hospice administrator. He was somewhere in his 50s, soft-spoken, the kind of man whose desk had 3 coasters and all of them were dry. He called me into his office on a Tuesday morning. He had a pen in his hand he wasn't writing with. "Helen, have a seat." "Is she?" "She's stable. This isn't medical. I have to follow procedure. I want you to know that's what I'm doing." He turned a folder around. Inside it was a petition my brother had filed with the hospice's social services unit, healthcare proxy. He was alleging, and the language was clinical, that I was estranged, unstable, possibly abusive, and that my visits were causing patient distress. He was requesting that the hospice limit my visiting privileges to supervised hours during the day shift only. He had attached 3 statements from staff. None were from Brenda. None were from Maggie. None were from anyone who worked the night shift. "He wants to keep me out at night," I said. "He wants to keep you out when he isn't here," Dale said. "I can't comment on that. I can only act on documentation. You have 48 hours to respond. I'll route your response to the medical director. She makes the call." Dale. "Yes." "Have you read Brenda's notes?" "I have." "Have you read the chaplain's notes?" "I have those too." He looked at me. He looked tired. He was tired in a way that wasn't about me. "Helen, I run a unit where families bring their worst to the door. I don't get paid to take sides, but my medical director reads the chart. So does the social worker who actually walks the floor. Lucky for both of us, your mother has spent her life documenting. What does that mean? It means file your response. File it on time. File it written. Don't yell at anyone. Don't email me. Don't email anyone on this floor. Walk it in." "Yes." "And, Helen, bring an attorney's letterhead if you've got one. It will save my medical director 2 phone calls." I had Wexler's letterhead. He had emailed me a template the day before. I filled it out at my kitchen table that night with the planner open beside me. I walked the response in at 8 a.m. Wednesday morning. Dale signed for it himself. The hospice chapel was on the 2nd floor, 1 elevator stop down from my mother's room. It was small, 6 pews, carpet the color of oatmeal, a bank of electric candles in red glass holders on a timer that flickered them on and off in irregular patterns. One of the candles was 30 seconds out of sync with the others, and I liked it more than the others. It looked like it had its own ideas. I sat there for 20 minutes the Friday after Dale's office. I did not pray. I did not have a religion to bring into the room. I did have a need to sit somewhere that had not been a battlefield. The chapel had not been a battlefield. It was the only place on the floor that had not been a battlefield. The chaplain came in around the 18th minute. She did not sit down next to me. She sat in the pew in front of mine and did not turn around, which is the kindest thing anyone did for me that month. Her name was Margaret Lattimore. She went by Maggie. She was in her late 60s, Quaker, and she had been at this hospice for 16 years. I knew, because Brenda had told me. "I sit with your mother 3 times a week," she said after a while. "Yes." "She mentioned you." "She mentions everyone." "She mentioned a piece of paper." I went still in the pew. I looked at the back of her gray head. She did not turn around. She said, "He keeps bringing me papers. I don't read them anymore." I noted it in my chaplain log. "Last Tuesday. Week before. Same thing." She said, "I sign them so he leaves me alone." I noted it too. I write everything down. I don't decide what it means. That part isn't mine. "Maggie, if you ever need an affidavit, Helen, I will sign one. I will not make it up. I will write only what I noted on the day I noted it. That's all I can offer." "That's enough." "It usually is. People underestimate what enough looks like." She got up. She did not look at me as she passed. She put her hand on the back of my pew for 1 second as she went by, and then she walked out into the hallway. The flickering candle that had been out of sync caught up briefly and then drifted out again. I sat there for another 5 minutes. Then I went back upstairs. Jonas Wexler's office was on the 3rd floor of a red brick building 2 towns over. The elevator made a single noise like a sigh on the way up. He had a frosted glass door with his name etched in serif. Inside, his desk was clean. He had 1 Bic pen on the blotter. Just one. I think that was the moment I trusted him completely. He was 64. He wore a wool sport coat with elbow patches that were not for show. He had a calendar on the wall with circles around dates in 3 different colored markers. He shook my hand once. "You brought the planner." "Both copies." "Good, I'll keep one." "You keep one. The original goes in your safe deposit. Have you put it there yet?" "This morning." "Good." He had drafted 3 documents already: an emergency petition to preserve all current records pertaining to my mother's care and any documents purporting to be her testamentary intent, a motion to block transfer of healthcare proxy, a request for an evidentiary hearing within 21 days. He pushed them across the desk for me to read. "Will the court grant the hearing in time?" "They'll grant it. Probate calendars are not jammed in this county. Your mother's prognosis is in the record. Nobody likes drag on a hospice case." "How much?" $7,500 retainer. We won't burn through it. I file. I show up. I don't lose this kind of case very often. That's not bragging. That's just paperwork showing up on time." I wrote the check. He took it without looking at it. He folded it once and put it in the inside pocket of the wool coat. "Helen, one thing." "Yes." "From this point forward, your brother's communications with you go to me. If he calls, you do not pick up. If he texts, you do not respond. If he leaves a voicemail, you save it and forward the file. If he comes to your door, you do not open it. You can be civil. You cannot be conversational. He will try. He drove by my apartment." "When?" 3 nights ago." "Save the log of that. Anything you noticed? Time. Plate if you saw it. Direction. The smallest things." "Yes." "And Helen?" "Yes." "Your mother said to say hello." "She told me you'd say that." He smiled for the first time. It was a small smile. He went back to looking at the petition. Mara Vendrell's office was a converted dental clinic on the 2nd floor of a strip plaza. She had taken over the building when the dentist retired in 2011 and had never bothered to repaint the walls, which were still the soft green of a 1990s waiting room. Her own office smelled like graphite and lemon cleaner, the way my 2nd grade classroom did before parent night. She was in her early 70s. She wore reading glasses on a chain. She had testified in 241 cases. She told me this without pride. She told me this the way a librarian tells you about her index card system. I gave her 3 things: the 4-page legal pad will, in the original, 18 months of Mom's planner entries. 3 years of Leland's tax return signatures, which I had pulled from the family records in the safe deposit box. She worked for 9 days. She did not call me during the 9 days. She called me on the 10th. Miss Mosley? Yes. My findings. Tentative pending the in-court review. Yes. The signature on page 4 matches Patricia Mosley's hand. The tremor matches her documented morphine pattern. Yes. The body of the document does not match her hand. Pages 1 through 4. Not in any sample I have. And Leland's hand. Highly consistent. Slope, pressure, letter formation, from his tax returns, from 2 supplementary samples. How sure are you? Highly sure. That is the term I use when I am, in plain language, sure. I will write the affidavit in standardized expert terms. The court will hear consistent to a high degree of certainty. I do not say certain. I never say certain. But this is as close as I get. Can you testify? I can. I prefer video. I am old. Standing in a courtroom hurts my feet. Mr. Wexler has used me before. Thank you. Don't thank me. Handwriting tells the truth about a writer the way a footprint tells about a shoe. I don't need a confession. I have what I have. I will say what it shows. She paused. She added in a different voice, Your mother's writing is a teacher's writing. Tilts at 88 degrees. She was a good teacher. Yes. I'm sorry. Mr. Wexler will have my report by Monday. She hung up. The call came at 3:08 a.m. on a Thursday. Brenda's voice was different. Brenda's voice was usually a level instrument, a flute kept in tune. Helen. She's coding. We're stabilizing. Drive carefully. Drive carefully. I drove. The rain was the kind that doesn't actually wet anything, just smudges the windshield until you give up trying to wipe it. I made 23 minutes in 22. I parked. I ran to the elevator. I did not hit the elevator buttons twice. When you've worked an audit at 3 a.m., you learn not to hit the buttons twice. The elevator opened. Brenda was at the nurse station. She held up one hand. She's stable. She's stable. She's tired. She's stable. Brenda. Sit. Sit. Don't go in yet. The team is finishing. I sat. I sat for 40 minutes. The team came out at 4:07. Mom was sleeping. Mom was thinner than she had been on Tuesday. The drop was visible. The body knew. The body always knew before the family did. I sat with her until 8 a.m. I did not check my phone until 8:15. There was a voicemail. It was Leland. 11:47 the night before. I played it once. I will tell you what was on it. He said, Hell. We need to talk before this gets ugly. I drove by your apartment tonight. Your car was there. You weren't. I don't know where you were. I'm trying to be reasonable. I'm trying to be reasonable, Hell. Don't make me file what I'd rather not file. Mom's confused. We both know that. We can settle this with one signature if you'd just call me back. Don't do this. He had been outside my apartment, while my mother was coding. I had been at her bedside. He had been outside my door. I forwarded the voicemail to Wexler at 8:22. He replied at 8:24. Save it. Don't respond. Send a copy to my paralegal for the file. Save the original on your phone until trial. I did all 3 things in the 10 minutes after. I did not call him back. I did not text him. I did not stand on my balcony that night looking down at the parking lot of my own building, although I will tell you that I thought about it. I went home. I slept 4 hours. I went back to the hospice. I held my mother's hand. I did not bring up the voicemail. I did not bring up anything. I just sat. The rain stopped. The sun came up. The pump clicked every 6 minutes. I counted them. I had time. 2 days before the hearing, Wexler called me at the office. He never called me at the office. Helen, step into a conference room. What? Your brother filed a second instrument with probate this morning. A typewritten will. Signed, notarized, dated 14 months ago. Looks clean on its face. He's claiming the holographic was a redundant draft. Made when she was scared and disoriented. Jonas, Don't panic. Don't panic. Read me the notary commission number off the document. I'm sending you the scan. The scan came through. I opened it on my phone in the conference room. The notary stamp was sharp. The commission number was 8 digits. I read them out loud. He was silent for 90 seconds. I could hear him typing. 2-finger typing, the kind of man who learned in 1979. Helen. Yes. That commission expired 8 months before the date on this document. The notary was disciplined. Not renewed. Public record. The State Board lookup is a free webpage. The notary on this document had no commission on the day they purportedly stamped it. What does that mean? It means the typewritten instrument was not properly executed. A will needs a valid notary for the presumption of due execution. He doesn't get the presumption. The burden shifts to him. He has to prove this document is what he says it is. By independent witness testimony. He won't. The witness signatures are illegible scribbles. No printed names. We can't even subpoena who they were. He's sloppy. He's panicking. He gave us a second forgery to prove the first one. That's the kind of mistake panic makes. Don't celebrate. Just file. We'll add this to the petition tonight. Mara's affidavit will note something. The signature on the typewritten instrument matches the holograph signature. Same tremor pattern. By the way, she caught that in her supplementary review yesterday. He used the same shaky signature. He photocopied it, or held her hand, or signed it himself with his wrist tied. I don't care which. The handwriting expert can see it. The court will see it. I sat for a moment. The HVAC in the conference room cycled on with a small hiss. Jonas? Yes. He's done. He was done 4 pages ago, Helen. He just hasn't accepted the phone call yet. I went back to my desk. I worked through lunch. I felt steady for the first time in 3 weeks. Maggie Lattimore lived in a small house on the south side of town. She had a screened porch and a garden with herbs and a tabby cat named Fields. She had given me her home address the day after the chapel, written on the back of a hospice business card with a number 2 pencil. She'd said, "If you need a witness affidavit, my screened porch is more comfortable than the chapel. Come by in the afternoon. The cat sits on whoever is sad." I came on a Saturday at 3 p.m. Fields sat on me. Maggie poured iced tea into a glass that had worth the weight on the side. The tea was unsweetened. She brought out a small wooden cross from her sideboard and put it on the table next to a yellow legal pad. The cross sat there. She drank from the cup. I saw her notice me, notice the arrangement. The cross isn't for show, Helen. It's just where I write. I write near it. I don't decide what it means. Yes. She had drafted the affidavit already in cursive on the legal pad. I read it. It listed 3 dates. On each date, she had logged a statement my mother had made about Leland. The statements were short. They were exact. They were dated, time-stamped, and signed in the chaplain log she had maintained for 16 years. The first one, he brings me papers and asks me to sign. I sign so he goes. The second one, I've stopped reading them. My eyes are tired. He says they're for the insurance. The third one, he told the staff Helen left. He's lying. I taught 3rd grade. I know lying. She had typed up the affidavit on her home computer that morning. She signed it in front of a notary at her bank on the way to my appointment. The notary, she noted dryly, was a current commission, verified before the visit. Maggie. Witnessing isn't taking sides, Helen. It's refusing to pretend you didn't see. Thank you. Don't thank me. Drink the tea. I drank the tea. The cat slept. The porch had a fan that turned without noise. I drove the affidavit straight to Wexler's Dropbox that evening and I did not stop to think about it twice. The night before the hearing, I sat with my mother. She was very thin. She was very tired. She was lucid in the way the dying are lucid in their last days. Not always, but in moments. Sharply. "Bring me the planner tomorrow." "Mom, it's an exhibit. I'm not allowed to bring it home from the courthouse the same day. Wexler keeps it overnight." "I want to hold it tomorrow night then. After. I want to know it ended up where I sent it." "Yes." She closed her eyes. The pump clicked. I counted 6 clicks. Then. "I taught 3rd grade for 31 years, sweetheart. You think I don't know what a piece of paper looks like?" "I know. He always thought I was simple. I let him." "I know, Mom." "Helen?" "Yes." "You've been here every night?" "Yes." "Don't make a speech tomorrow. Let the paper speak. Paper is patient. Speech makes you tired." "Yes, Mom." She slept. I sat. The hospice HVAC cycled on every 14 minutes. I had timed it the way I had timed the morphine pump and the orange light and the parking gate. I knew her room better than I knew my own. Wexler called at 9 p.m. on the dot. "Petition is filed. Exhibits are filed. Mara is on standby for video. Brenda is on the witness list. Maggie is on the witness list. Passive, in case opposing counsel asks. Notary expiration record is in. Tax return samples are in. Visitor log is in. Planner copies are in. Original planner is in our possession. Hearing is at 1 p.m. Yes. Helen. Yes. You don't speak unless I motion you to. You don't react. You don't look at him. The court reporter is going to watch you. The judge is going to watch you. Your face is part of the record." "Yes." And, "Helen." "Yes." "Wear something your mother liked." I hung up. I went to the closet. I picked out a navy blouse my mother had given me for my 30th birthday. It still smelled, faintly, of her closet, cedar and old paper. I laid it across the chair. I went to bed at 10. I did not sleep. I did not need to. The county probate courtroom was small. 2 rows of pews on each side, a wooden bench, a small flag, a ceiling fan that tilted slightly off true, so it wobbled instead of spinning, the way a bird's head tilts when it hears a sound it doesn't trust. Judge Warren Hartley sat at the bench. He was 67, quiet, raised Quaker. He had a face that had been sitting on probate cases for 31 years. Leland came in with his attorney. The attorney was from a regional firm 2 states over, a man in a suit too sharp for this room. Leland wore a buttoned collared shirt. He sat upright. He did not look at me. Wexler had a folder. 1 folder. Manila. Blue tab labels along the side. He set it on the table. The attorney for Leland opened. He spent 15 minutes on the holograph instrument, calling it Patricia's True Testament and the typewritten will, the earlier executed instrument that confirms her intent. He used the word intent 11 times. He did not call any witness. He rested. Wexler stood. He did not button his coat. "Your Honor, the petitioner has submitted 2 instruments. We are prepared to demonstrate that neither survives basic statutory scrutiny." He opened the folder. Exhibit A, Visitor Log, notarized copy. 47 of 49 nights, Helen Mosley. 4 of 49, Leland Mosley. Read into the record. Exhibit B, Brenda Hutchins, called to the stand, sworn. Asked 1 question. "Mrs. Hutchins, across 7 weeks of Patricia Mosley's care, who visited her at night?" "Helen Mosley. Every night I worked. 47 of 49. I was off the other 2. Step down. Exhibit C, Patricia Mosley's personal day planner, 18 months. Authenticated by the testator's own hand and by the cross-referenced visitor log. Exhibit D, Margaret Lattimore, chaplain affidavit. Read into the record. 3 dated statements, signed, notarized, current commission. Exhibit E, Mara Vendrell, forensic document examiner. Testifying by video. 12 minutes. Body of the holograph instrument. Highly inconsistent with Patricia Mosley's documented handwriting. Highly consistent with Leland Mosley's. Signature on holograph. Consistent with Patricia Mosley's, with tremor consistent with documented medication. Signature on typewritten will. Same tremor. Same hand. Same day, in her professional opinion, as the holograph signature. Exhibit F. Notary Commission Expiration Record. State Board lookup. 8 months prior to the date of execution. Read into the record. The presentation took 47 minutes. Wexler sat down. He folded his hands. The attorney for Leland asked for a recess. The recess was 20 minutes. I stood in the hallway with Wexler. He drank water from a cone-shaped paper cup at the cooler and said nothing. Through the doorway at the end of the hall, I could see Leland and his attorney arguing in low voices. Leland's hand was on his attorney's elbow. The attorney was shaking it off. Leland's collared shirt had a small, dark mark on the front placket, a smudge from his palm. He had been sweating. The attorney came back. He approached Wexler in the corridor. He said, "We're prepared to stipulate to intestate distribution. Both instruments withdrawn. Estate passes by statute." Wexler said, "Your client may withdraw whatever he wishes. I will be making my closing on the record. I want the court's findings on this document, not a private agreement that lets your client save face. The court goes on the record. Or my client goes home." The attorney looked at me. I looked at Wexler. Wexler did not look at me. The attorney went back into the courtroom and conferred with Leland. Leland's hand came up to his face once and dropped. He nodded. Court reconvened. Judge Hartley took 10 minutes. He had typed his findings during the recess on the laptop on his bench. He read them in the same voice he might have used to read aloud to a grandchild. The light through the courtroom window fell on his bench in a long, warm rectangle. The court has reviewed the petitioner's submissions and the respondent's exhibits. The court finds as follows. The instrument styled as a holographic will fails on its face. The body of the document is not in the testator's hand. Pages 1 through 4. By clear and convincing evidence, the signature alone is insufficient under this state's holograph statute. The instrument is void. The court further finds that the typewritten instrument styled as a confirming will fails for improper execution. The notary public whose stamp appears on the document held no commission on the date of execution. The witness signatures are unidentifiable and cannot be authenticated. The instrument is void. Both instruments are stricken. The estate of Patricia Ann Mosley shall pass by intestate succession of this state. The court takes no pleasure in this finding. It takes no pleasure in any of it. But the law on holographic instruments is precise for a reason. Adjourned. He stood. He left through the door behind the bench. The fan above us tilted in its small, uneven circle. Leland did not look at me. I did not look at Leland. Wexler closed his folder. We did not celebrate in the hallway. We did not celebrate in the parking lot. Wexler put the folder under his arm. He shook my hand once. "Helen, you won the case you needed to win." "Yes." "Don't try to win one you don't." "Yes." "Go to your mother." I drove to the hospice. Brenda was at the nurse station. She had been waiting. She did not say anything. She walked with me down the hall, slower than I was walking, and when we got to room 312, she touched my shoulder once and stepped back. Maggie was not there. Maggie did not come to courtrooms. She had told me the morning before, "I sit with the dying. I do not watch the proof of what they already knew." I understood. I think I would have been embarrassed for her if she had been there. Mom was sleeping. The afternoon light was on her hands. I had the planner with me, the original. Wexler had returned it after entry into evidence. I sat down on the edge of the bed. I opened the planner to the last entry. The last entry was a Tuesday 2 weeks before. It said, "Helen brought soup, stayed till 9. I closed the planner. I placed it on her chest. I closed her hands around it. The planner weighed about as much as a paperback. Her hands closed around it the way they used to close around a pen during recess, out of pure muscle memory. She did not open her eyes, but her hands knew what they were holding. I sat in the chair until evening. Brenda came in at 11. Brenda did not say anything either. She adjusted Mom's blanket. She wrote the entry in the visitor log. Helen Mosley, 1:43 p.m. to present. Patricia Mosley resting comfortably. Her cursive on the log was the same as it always was. The blue ballpoint, not the black gel. I went home at 3 a.m. I left the planner on her chest. Her hands held it through the night. She passed 3 days later, at 4:18 on a Saturday morning. Brenda was on shift. Brenda was the one who held her hand. The planner was still on her chest. Brenda took it off and folded it and put it in the gallon Ziploc the hospice uses for personal effects, and she walked it to the nurse station, and she called me at 4:21. She said, "She let go. It was easy. I'll be here when you get here." I drove. I was 28 minutes. I sat with my mother. Brenda sat with me. We did not say much. The morning came up over the building. The funeral was at a small home 6 miles from the hospice. 18 people came. Mom's 2 sisters, 3 women from her teaching career, women in their 70s in cardigans they had worn to her retirement party. A neighbor, Carol, Wexler, without his folder, in a black suit, with his sister, who looked like Mom around the eyes, Brenda, Maggie, who led the service in a low voice that did not shake. The organ in the funeral home had not been tuned since spring. Someone played a hymn anyway. The hymn was the one Mom had sung at the kitchen sink in 1986 when she was washing the breakfast dishes. I remembered the dishes. I remembered the song. Leland was there. He stood at the back. He wore a buttoned collared shirt. He did not come forward. He did not speak to anyone. He signed the guest book. I saw him sign it. He used his real hand. His Y came down past the next line. After the service, Maggie walked me out to the parking lot. She had a small folded paper in her hand. She said, "Helen." She left me a note. It's a week old. I wasn't sure when to give it to you. I'm sure now. The note was 3 lines, in Mom's hand. Slow, but clean. Tell Helen I knew. Tell Helen I'm proud of who came. The word knew was underlined twice. Maggie said, "She wrote it on a Tuesday." She underlined the word twice. "I just want you to know which Tuesday." It was the Tuesday after the chapel, the day after Maggie had written her chaplain log entry. I put the note in my purse. I drove home. The estate took 4 months to close. Intestate distribution in this state, with no surviving spouse and 2 surviving children, was equal halves. Leland received approximately $340,000. I received approximately $340,000. Carol explained the math to me twice. The second time I understood it. The first time I had been thinking about Mom's planner, which I keep on the second shelf of my bookcase, third from the left, between her old gradebook and her copy of Charlotte's Web. Wexler called me on the day the final distribution check cleared. "Helen." "Yes." "I want to be clear about something." "Yes." "You won the case you needed to win. You did not win the punishment some part of you might have wanted. The court does not exist to punish brothers. The court exists to stop the worst things from happening. The worst thing did not happen. He did not get her estate by a forged document. He got his statutory share. That is the law. Yes. The law isn't poetic. It just stops the worst things from happening. I know. Also. Yes. Don't appeal. Don't contest. Don't sue him civilly for the cost of the proceedings. You'd win. You'd take 3 years to win it. Your mother is not 3 years available to be remembered. I won't. Good. Jonas. Yes. I'm putting $15,000 in a scholarship at Henderson Elementary in her name. That's a good idea. Will you handle the paperwork for me? At cost. Send me the school's contact. I sent it that afternoon. The scholarship is small. It pays for school supplies for one third grader a year. The principal sends me a short letter every August. The letter is on yellow legal pad. The principal is a former student of my mother's. He told me when we set it up. She taught me cursive, he said. I still write on yellow. He always signs his letters in the same color blue ballpoint Brenda used. I don't think the two of them know each other. I think the world just decides, sometimes, to use the same color of pen for kindness. You stop asking why. I went back to my firm 3 weeks after the funeral. My team did not ask. People who work in audit have a practiced silence about other people's grief. They left a card on my desk. They did not look at me when I read it. That was the kindness. I kept the planner. I kept Brenda's notes, copies, in the same folder. I kept Maggie's affidavit in a separate folder. I kept Mara's report in a third. The folders sit on the second shelf of my bookcase. I do not look at them. I know where they are. That is enough. 3 months after the funeral, in December, Leland sent a Christmas card. It came in a red envelope. The return address was a P.O. box in a town I had never heard of. He had not signed it Lee. He had signed it Leland. He had used his full name. I put it in the drawer of my kitchen, the bottom drawer where I keep the stamps and the rubber bands and the takeout menus I never order from. I did not open it. I have never opened it. It is still there. I expect I will throw it away one day, and I expect that day will not be a special one. I expect it will be a Tuesday in March when I am cleaning out the drawer for some other reason. I have not spoken to my brother. I expect I will not speak to my brother. I do not feel cruel about this. I do not feel righteous. I feel like a woman who has set a table down where it belongs and walked into the next room. Some boundaries don't need to be announced. They just need to be kept. If this story sat with you, leave one word in the comments. Just one. The word for what you think she earned. I'll read everyone. There's one more story I haven't told. About Brenda, the night nurse, and what she said to me at my mother's funeral. The link is in the description. I'll see you there. Now, back to one last image. 2 years on. 2 years later, I drove out to the hospice on a Wednesday in early September. I had a paper bag of warm wool socks. Brenda had called me a week earlier and said the night shift was always short on socks for patients in the last days. Feet get cold first, she said, and the unit budget never covered them. I brought 30 pairs. I bought them at the same supply store where my mother had bought her gradebook. Brenda was at the nurse station. She still had 2 pens. She was wearing reading glasses now. She took the bag with both hands and said, "Sweetheart, you didn't have to." "I know. Sit a minute." I sat. We did not talk much. We never had. The lemon pledge smell was the same. The juice machine was the same. It still clicked twice. The second click still sounded like an offended cough. I drove home at midnight. I went down Highway 14 because it was the way I knew. The yellow blink at the intersection of Route 9 was the same yellow blink it had been at 2:47 in the morning the night Brenda had called me. The asphalt was the same wet asphalt. It had rained earlier, the smudging kind. The light blinked. It had always been a traffic light. It had always been just a traffic light. I did not pull over. I did not cry. I did not turn on the radio for a while, and then I did. There was a song my mother had liked playing on the late-night station, a hymn I had heard at the kitchen sink in 1986, and I let it play to the end, and then I drove the rest of the way home, in silence. Some calls you spend the rest of your life thanking the caller for. I never told Brenda that. I think she knows.